I need to be brutally honest with you right now because something is approaching on the horizon that the vast majority of the population is simply not taking seriously enough. If you listen closely to the hushed conversations happening between agricultural experts, supply chain logistics managers, and climate scientists, you will hear them quietly warning that the growing season of 2026 faces the potential to fail in catastrophic ways that we have not witnessed in generations. While I certainly cannot predict the future with absolute certainty, I can tell you this much. The smart money is already moving, and the institutional investors are positioning themselves for scarcity. If you are currently a Costco member, you possess a distinct advantage, having access to bulk quantities of life-saving supplies that most people cannot obtain anywhere else. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 10 specific items you need to stockpile before March arrives, because once that calendar page turns, the window of opportunity begins to close rapidly. The sixth item on this list is something that most preppers completely ignore, yet it constitutes the difference between eating bland, miserable survival food and actually enjoying your meals during a crisis. Furthermore, when I explain the reasoning behind the ninth item, you are going to realize exactly why warehouse clubs exist in the first place. You need to pay close attention, because this information could quite literally be the difference between being prepared and being caught completely off guard when the shelves go bare. Let me be incredibly clear about why the month of March is so critically important. March is the tipping point where spring planting decisions are finalized across the Northern Hemisphere. This is the month when massive commercial seed orders are locked in, fertilizer contracts are signed, and crop insurance policies are underwritten. All of the logistical framework for the entire year's food supply happens before the snow even fully melts. If there is going to be a disruption in the global food supply chain, it starts with those decisions made in early spring. If you wait until the summer when the general public begins to see the problem manifesting in empty shelves and skyrocketing prices, you will be competing with millions of panic buyers who are acting out of fear rather than foresight. We need to get into the specifics right now because grocery prices are already rising faster than most families can keep up with, and what I am about to share is your hedge against that inflation and scarcity. The first essential item on our list is Kirkland Organic Coconut Oil. You need to listen carefully, because this first item is likely sitting in your local Costco right now, and the vast majority of shoppers walk right past it without understanding its value. I am referring to the massive 84-ounce container that usually costs around $25. What makes this item absolutely critical for your stockpile is the chemistry of the product. Coconut oil is one of the most chemically stable fats on planet Earth. Unlike vegetable oils, canola oil, or corn oil, which are polyunsaturated fats that oxidize and go rancid within months. Coconut oil is primarily a saturated fat that lasts for years without any refrigeration whatsoever. I have personally used coconut oil that was 3 years old, stored at simple room temperature, and it was absolutely perfect in both taste and texture. This stability changes your entire perspective on long-term food storage. Consider the historical context. Last year, I was diving deep into research regarding World War II food logistics, and I discovered that the military relied heavily on coconut oil in tropical climates, specifically because it handles high heat without breaking down or spoiling. Now, think about a modern survival scenario where your power goes out for weeks or even months. Your butter in the refrigerator will melt into a disgusting liquid within days. Your olive oil, if exposed to heat and light, will start smelling like old paint. However, that tub of coconut oil just sits there, solid and stable, waiting for you to use it. You must understand that in a survival situation, dietary fat is not optional. It is a biological necessity. Your body requires fat for energy regulation, maintaining body warmth, proper brain function, hormone production, and the absorption of critical vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Most survival foods that people stockpile, such as rice and beans, are dangerously low in fat. Even those expensive freeze-dried meals often strip out most of the fat content to extend shelf life. One single container of Kirkland coconut oil provides over 12,000 calories of pure, dense energy. My exact strategy involves keeping 4 of these massive tubs in rotation at all times. That equates to over 48,000 calories of shelf-stable fat for an investment of about $100. When you compare that to survival food companies that charge upwards of $300 for freeze-dried meals containing the same calorie count, the economic advantage is undeniable. The versatility of this product is also insane. Obviously, you can cook with it, but you can also use it for skin protection against windburn in harsh weather, as a base for making homemade soap, for treating minor wounds due to its antimicrobial properties, and even as an emergency lamp fuel if you are truly desperate. The storage requirement is brain-dead simple. Keep it in the original container in a cool, dark place. That is all there is to it. No special preparation is needed. Furthermore, there is a psychological factor that nobody talks about. Coconut oil makes your stockpile food actually taste good. When you are eating plain rice for the 5th day straight, frying it in coconut oil with a little salt suddenly transforms it into something that tastes like a restaurant meal. Morale matters more than people think during extended emergencies, and flavorful fat is the key to maintaining that morale. Moving on to the second item, we have Kirkland canned chicken. This is the category where Costco absolutely dominates every other option on the market. I am talking about the 6-pack of canned chicken breast. Each individual can contain 12.5 ounces of fully cooked chicken breast. While the official shelf life printed on these cans is usually 2 to 5 years, I have seen experienced preppers use cans that were 7 years old with zero safety or quality issues. The reason this specific item beats every other protein option is a matter of logistics and economics. Fresh chicken requires constant refrigeration and goes bad in a matter of days. Freeze-dried chicken is incredibly expensive, costing about $40 per pound, but Kirkland canned chicken runs about $3.50 per can. You are effectively getting premium protein for less than fresh chicken prices, and it lasts for years on a shelf. Let me tell you a story about what happened last summer to illustrate why this is vital. A severe storm system knocked out power in my area for 9 agonizing days. By the 3rd day, everyone in the neighborhood was panicking because their frozen meat had thawed and began to spoil. People were literally throwing away hundreds of dollars of food that they had relied on. Meanwhile, in my kitchen, I was making chicken tacos, chicken salad, and hearty chicken soup, all from cans that required absolutely no refrigeration. Each can provides about 60 grams of complete protein. That is more protein than most people need in an entire day to maintain muscle mass. It is real, actual chicken, not some textured vegetable protein or mystery meat. The texture is surprisingly good, especially if you take the time to shred it and mix it with spices or sauces. My personal rotation system is strict. I buy 2 6-packs every time I make a Costco trip. I use the oldest cans in my regular weekly meals, so nothing ever expires or goes to waste. Just last week, I made chicken quesadillas using a can that was 3 years old, and my kids had absolutely no idea it was not fresh chicken from the butcher counter. In a crisis scenario, protein becomes incredibly valuable because your body cannot function without it. Without adequate protein, your muscles begin to break down, your immune system weakens, and wounds do not heal properly. Having a stockpile of shelf-stable protein means you stay strong physically while everyone else is getting weaker. I personally keep 36 cans in my stockpile. That is 27 pounds of pure protein taking up about 2 square feet of shelf space. I challenge you to try storing 27 pounds of fresh chicken without power and see what happens. Additionally, here is a professional tip. The liquid in the can is basically chicken broth. Do not throw it away. Use it to cook your rice or add it to soups. You are getting bonus nutrition and electrolytes that most people foolishly pour down the drain. The third item is something every Costco member has walked past 100 times, but probably drastically underestimates. I am referring to the Kirkland Organic Peanut Butter 2-pack. Each jar is 28 ounces, and here is why this belongs in the core of your stockpile. Peanut butter is one of the most calorie-dense foods you can possibly store. Just 2 tablespoons contain 190 calories, 16 grams of fat, and 7 grams of protein. The Kirkland Organic version is superior because it has literally 2 ingredients: dry roasted peanuts and sea salt. That is it. There are no weird preservatives, no hydrogenated oils, and no added sugar, just pure nutrition. The shelf life is generally cited as about 2 years unopened, but here is something wild that I have discovered. I have used peanut butter that was 3 years past the printed date, and it was completely fine. The oil separates a bit over time, but you just stir it back in, and it is good to go. Let me share a perspective that completely changed how I think about emergency food. A survival expert once explained to me that peanut butter is basically edible survival fuel. You can eat it straight from the jar with zero preparation. It does not require cooking, heating, or water. It stays good in extreme temperatures, and it provides immediate, sustained energy. During a camping trip last autumn, we ran into unexpected cold weather, where temperatures dropped into the teens. We were burning through calories rapidly, just trying to stay warm. I started giving everyone a spoonful of peanut butter every few hours. The difference was dramatic. The fat content kept our internal body temperature up, and the calories kept our energy levels stable. The Costco version is perfect because of the price point. 2 massive jars cost about $11. That represents over 12,000 calories for $11. Show me another food source that delivers that kind of value. Because it is organic, you are also avoiding the high pesticide residues that are common in conventional peanut crops. In a long-term scenario where your body is under physical stress, avoiding chemical load matters. Storage is simple. Keep the jars in a cool, dark place. Once opened, they last several months at room temperature, or you can refrigerate them if you have power. I keep 8 jars in rotation, which is over 50,000 calories of shelf-stable nutrition. There is also a psychological factor here. Peanut butter tastes good. When everything else is bland survival food, a spoonful of rich, salty peanut butter feels like a treat. It keeps morale up, especially for children who are likely to be scared and confused during a disruption. Item number 4 is often controversial in the prepping world, but I am going to tell you why you need it anyway. It is the Kirkland extra virgin olive oil in the 2-liter bottles. Now, some preppers will argue that olive oil goes rancid too quickly, and they are right if you store it incorrectly. However, here is what they are missing. Olive oil stored properly in dark bottles in a cool location lasts 18 to 24 months easily, and the health benefits are so significant that it is worth rotating through your stockpile. You have to understand that your body needs different types of fats. Coconut oil gives you saturated fat, but olive oil provides monounsaturated fat, which is critical for heart health, reducing inflammation, and supporting your immune system. In a high-stress survival situation, systemic inflammation becomes a serious problem. Your body is under constant stress, sleep is disrupted, and nutrition might be limited. Olive oil helps counteract those negative effects. I learned this from a friend who was a clinical nutritionist. She explained that in Mediterranean cultures, people have survived famines and wars in better health than other regions, partly because of their high olive oil consumption. It is not just calories, it is nutrition. Each 2-liter bottle from Costco costs about $18 and contains roughly 16,000 calories. But more importantly, it makes your food taste incredible. Rice and beans with olive oil and salt taste like a meal you would choose to eat, not survival rations. My storage method is disciplined. Keep the bottles in their original dark containers in the coolest part of your house. If you have a basement, that is perfect. If not, a closet away from the kitchen heat works fine. The key is to rotate through it. Use olive oil in your regular daily cooking and replace it with fresh bottles. That way, your stockpile stays fresh automatically. I keep 6 bottles, which is about 96,000 calories of healthy fat. And I use the oldest bottle first, replacing it every shopping trip. In a scenario where fresh vegetables are not available, the antioxidants in olive oil become even more critical. It is essentially nutritional insurance. The 5th item is going to surprise you, but it is brilliant. Kirkland Organic Dried Blueberries. These come in 20-ounce bags, and here is why they are essential. Vitamin C deficiency is one of the first nutritional problems that shows up during food shortages. Scurvy can develop in as little as 3 months without vitamin C, and the symptoms include extreme fatigue, weakness, bleeding gums, and slow wound healing. Dried blueberries are loaded with vitamin C, antioxidants, and fiber. One serving contains about 10% of your daily vitamin C needs. But the real magic is that they last for years when stored properly, and require 0 preparation. You can eat them straight from the bag. During a 2-week power outage last winter, I noticed my energy was dragging significantly. I started eating a handful of dried blueberries every morning, and within 3 days, I felt noticeably better. The natural sugars provided quick energy, and the antioxidants helped my body handle the stress. Here is something most preppers miss entirely: the concept of morale food. When you are living off rice and beans, having something sweet and flavorful is psychologically huge. Dried blueberries feel like a treat, not survival rations. Storage is simple. I transfer them from the bag into mason jars with oxygen absorbers. Kept in a cool, dark place, they will last 3 to 5 years. I keep 4 bags in rotation. That is 80 ounces of fruit that requires no refrigeration. Compare that to fresh fruit that spoils in a week. A pro tip for using these is to add them to oatmeal or mix them into rice for a sweet breakfast, or just eat them as a snack. The fiber helps with digestion, which becomes critical when your diet shifts dramatically during emergencies. The sixth item is where Costco really shines for preppers. Kirkland Organic Quinoa in the massive 4.5-pound bag. Before you dismiss quinoa as just trendy health food, let me explain why this is nutritional gold. Quinoa is one of the only plant foods that is a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids that your body cannot make on its own. Rice does not have this, beans do not have this, but quinoa does. Each cup of cooked quinoa provides 8 grams of complete protein and 5 grams of fiber. Unlike rice, which is basically just carbohydrates, quinoa is packed with magnesium, iron, B vitamins, and antioxidants. The shelf life is incredible. Stored in an airtight container with oxygen absorbers, quinoa lasts 8 to 10 years. Let me tell you about a hunting trip where this saved us. We were planning to catch fish for protein, but the fish were simply not biting. We had brought quinoa as a side dish, but it ended up being our main protein source for 4 days. Nobody lost energy, nobody felt weak, and we all stayed sharp mentally. What makes the Costco version perfect is that it is organic, which means no pesticide residues, and the price is absurdly low. A 4.5-pound bag costs about $11. That is over 20 servings of complete protein for the price of 2 fast food meals. Quinoa cooks in 15 minutes and absorbs whatever flavor you add to it. Cook it in broth, and it tastes like the broth. Add spices and it takes on those flavors. The versatility is incredible. I keep 3 bags in my stockpile, which is over 13 pounds of complete protein. In a scenario where meat is unavailable or too expensive, quinoa becomes your primary protein source. And because it is technically a seed, you can actually sprout it for fresh greens if needed. Item number 7 sounds boring, but it is literally a matter of life or death. Kirkland Iodized Sea Salt. Costco sells this in massive containers, and here is why you need way more than you think. Salt is not optional for human survival. Your body needs sodium to regulate blood pressure, transmit nerve signals, and contract muscles. Without enough salt, you die. It is that simple. But here is what most people do not know. Iodized salt prevents thyroid problems. Your thyroid controls your metabolism, energy levels, and body temperature. Without iodine, your thyroid shuts down. Historically, iodine deficiency was a massive problem until they started adding it to salt in the 1920s. In a long-term survival situation, if you are not eating iodized salt, you are at serious risk. I learned this from a doctor who works in disaster relief. He told me that in prolonged refugee situations, thyroid problems show up within months because people are eating whatever food is available, and none of it has iodine. Salt also makes your food edible. Try eating plain rice with no salt for a week, and you will understand why ancient civilizations went to war over salt. It is not just flavor. It is what makes food psychologically acceptable. My strategy is aggressive. I keep 25 pounds of iodized sea salt in my stockpile. It costs about $8 and will literally last decades. Salt does not expire. Archaeologists have found 2,000-year-old salt that is still perfectly usable. Beyond food, salt has dozens of survival uses. Preserving meat, curing fish, making rehydration solution for illness, cleaning wounds, and even brushing teeth. One container of salt from Costco might be the most valuable $8 you spend on your entire stockpile. The 8th item is something I almost overlooked until I really thought about nutrition. Kirkland Organic Tomato Sauce in the 8-pack of 15-ounce cans. Here is why this matters more than you might think. Tomatoes are one of the richest sources of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that protects against cell damage. But here is the crazy part. Cooked tomatoes have more bioavailable lycopene than raw tomatoes. Tomato sauce is actually more nutritious than fresh tomatoes. The shelf life on canned tomato sauce is 3 to 5 years. I have used cans that were 6 years old with no issues. The Kirkland Organic version has minimal ingredients. Just tomatoes, salt, and citric acid. In a scenario where fresh vegetables are unavailable, tomato sauce becomes your primary source of vegetable nutrition. It is loaded with vitamin C, potassium, and fiber. Here's how I use it. As a base for soups, mixed into rice for flavor and nutrition, as pasta sauce obviously, or even thinned with water as a warm drink. Last winter, I experimented with drinking warm tomato broth with salt. It sounds weird, but it was incredibly satisfying and warming. Each 8-pack costs about $10, giving you 120 ounces of vegetable nutrition for $10. Compare that to freeze-dried vegetables at $15 for 2 ounces. The value is insane. I keep 4 8-packs in my stockpile. That is 32 cans of vegetable nutrition that requires zero refrigeration and lasts for years. A pro tip is to combine tomato sauce with canned chicken and rice. Suddenly, you have a complete meal with protein, carbs, and vegetables. Item number 9 is pure survival gold. Kirkland Organic Honey. Costco sells this in massive 3-pound bottles. Here is why honey might be the single best survival food on Earth. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still edible. The low moisture content and natural acidity make it impossible for bacteria to grow. It is literally the only food that lasts forever. But honey is not just sugar. It contains antioxidants, enzymes, vitamins, and minerals, and it has natural antibacterial properties. You can use it to treat minor wounds and prevent infection. During a hiking trip last year, I got a bad scrape on my arm. I cleaned it with water and covered it with honey. Within 2 days, it was healing better than cuts I have treated with antibiotic ointment. Here is what makes honey critical for survival. Immediate energy. Immediate. When you are exhausted and need fast calories, a spoonful of honey hits your bloodstream in minutes. It is nature's energy gel, and unlike refined sugar, honey does not cause the same crash afterward. Each 3-pound bottle from Costco costs about $17 and contains roughly 8,000 calories. Beyond calories, honey makes everything taste better. Add it to tea, drizzle it on plain oatmeal, mix it into peanut butter, or just eat it straight. I keep 3 bottles in my stockpile. That is 24,000 calories of food that will outlast me, requires no preparation, and has medicinal properties. You cannot say that about any other survival food. The 10th and final item is old school, but it is foundation-level prepping. Kirkland Organic rolled oats in the 10-pound bag. Here is why oats are non-negotiable. They are incredibly calorie-dense at about 150 calories per serving. They are loaded with soluble fiber that keeps you full for hours, packed with B vitamins and minerals, and they last for years when stored properly. Oats stored in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers last 10 to 30 years. That is not a typo. Properly stored oats can last 3 decades. But here is what makes oats brilliant. Versatility. You can make oatmeal obviously, but you can also make oat flour by grinding them, use them as a binder in recipes, make oat milk, or even use them in homemade energy bars. During a week-long power outage, I made no-cook overnight oats by soaking them in water with dried fruit. 0 cooking required, and it was filling and nutritious. Each 10-pound bag from Costco costs about $12. That is 52 servings of hearty, filling food for $12. I keep 3 bags in my stockpile, which is 30 pounds of foundational calories. And here is something nobody talks about. Oats are comfort food. A warm bowl of oatmeal on a cold morning when everything feels uncertain provides psychological stability. It reminds you of normal life. Here is what I want you to understand. The items I just shared are not random. They are specifically chosen to cover complete nutrition, long shelf life, ease of preparation, and psychological sustainability. If the 2026 harvest fails, like some experts are quietly predicting, having these 10 Costco items means you are not just surviving. You are actually living with decent food that keeps you healthy and sane. Most people will wait until they see the problem on the news. By then, it is too late. The time to act is right now, before March, while everything is still available and affordable. If this information gave you a clear action plan, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss what I am covering next. Next week, I am revealing the 5 biggest mistakes Costco preppers make that could get them in serious trouble. Trust me, the 3rd mistake will shock you. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 10 items you are grabbing on your next Costco run. Stay prepared out there.